Hello and welcome to the Gymkhana 427 project. What we have here is the 2015 released Chevrolet Performance 427 Anniversary Edition. This one specifically being number 406 of 427 made. This is the 50th anniversary of the Mark IV Big Block that came out in 1965. That first came out in the Chevrolet Corvette. I'll put the specs of the motor on the screen, but when you look this motor up, various websites seem to have the specs wrong. But if you look at the actual PDF from Chevrolet Performance, the couple things that get mixed up is one is the compression ratio. It's actually 10:1. And the carburetor, some say they're 770, some say it's 880. It's actually 770, the Holly Street Avenger, I believe it's a Holly Avenger carburetor, although GM Performance has their own manufacturer part number, but it says Holly right on it. I'm sure they've done nothing with it. 1.7 roller rockers, and I think that was it. This one comes with a short water pump, but I'll be changing it to a long water pump, just because I'm going to be putting a March Performance Serpentine kit on the front. And their selection for the short water pumps aren't that great, or at least the ones that I want. So I figured I might as well put the long water pump on there and put on the March Performance kit that I want, which at this point in time I believe is going to be the Ultra 2. What we're going to put it in is my 1979 Corvette. Originally came with the L82 smog motor, as most of you know, and the 4-speed Munchie M21. For now, we'll be running on the stock drivetrain. We just have to go easy on it, and I'll deal with that later, just because this is not cheap stuff. But the L82 is going to be coming out, obviously. The L82 being rated for 225 horsepower for the factory, and I think it was around 280 torque. But either way, it was not spectacular by any means. When you took out the cats, which this one did, and put on headers and stuff, it did open it up a little bit, but realistically you need to touch the heads and cam to get the compression up and a little bit more of a cam profile in there. With the motor you can see well over 300 with not too much work, but I stumbled onto this guy, so that's no longer going to happen, and the new guy can deal with that. So this Anniversary 427, it's an all aluminum cast block, aluminum head performance motor from Chevrolet Performance. The history behind it is the 1969 Camaro ZL1 came out back in the day with not only Chevrolet's first all-aluminum block and head motor, but their most powerful V8 they've ever released to the public as well. Back in the day, they rated it for 430 horsepower, 450 foot-pounds of torque, but that was well underrated, and most of them were, I don't remember the exact numbers, but they easily made over 500. And so they kind of kept to that tradition with this new motor and rated for the same power rating, although it's definitely going to make well over 500 once again. And also that they used the original tooling that they made the big block back in the day with, and this was their last hurrah before retiring the equipment, or at least the story goes. So along with this motor, I've also decided to go with Doug's headers, side exhaust, which I think fits the Corvette perfectly and should sound pretty nice with STS baffles. Some guy actually had a clever idea. There's a center tube through the STS baffle that is blocked off, and some people cut or drill it out to add that extra opening for tubing for exhaust gases. But it obviously will, make it quite a bit louder, and sometimes you don't want that. So what he did on the back end is he welded on a threaded piece, and you can put a cap in there, so just on the fly through the tip of the exhaust, you can quiet it down and then open it up if you really want to. So I kind of figured that would be kind of a fun thing to also do with the exhaust. The fuel system, I've decided, at least for now, to leave the tank and the hard lines as is. There are 3/8 hard lines, so I've bought all sorts of AN fittings and adapters to go off the hard lines to stay to 6 AN. And I'm staying mechanical pump for now. I got Edelbrock 130 gallon per hour mechanical pump. Holley billet fuel regulator, because the 130 is not self-regulated, so it hits upwards of 10 psi. So you do have to run a separate fuel regulator, keeping it return style as well, that the factory Corvette fuel system runs on, and just a bunch of jegs fittings and stainless steel hose, and then their carb, which I want to put some of these things on today, which I'll have it on video. I also bought polyurethane motor mounts and transmission mounts, although I thought the motor mounts came as a set of 2. I was wrong, so now I have to order another one. I bought a McLeod, I think it's called that, McLeod, clutch, ceramic clutch that's claimed to be rated for about 600 horsepower. Single plate, so we'll see how that does. And then I also got a new billet steel flywheel, because since this is a one-piece main, I can't reuse the one in the Corvette, not that I really would want to anyways. So that's what I got for the clutch and flywheel. I also have ARP pressure plate bolts and flywheel bolts to put on there, and a few other goodies that I'll be getting later, mainly the March. I wanted to get the motor in before I ordered the front serpentine kit, just to make sure I'll have the clearance, because they have high top mounted and mid mounted. I want to go with the mid mount, but I'm not too sure if the shock towers are going to be in the way, or strut towers, sorry.